Hey everyone, welcome to Crime Family. I'm your co-host AJ, and I'm here with my sisters and co-hosts Stephanie and Katie as always. And for this week's episode, we are going to be talking about the Maura Murray case. And this is a missing persons case that you may very well be familiar with. It's one of those ones that is still unsolved, and it's been over 20 years since her disappearance, and the surrounding events are just very, very odd, very mysterious, and there's just lots of theories and questions out there. So I think this one's sort of been on our radar for a while to do on the show, but for whatever reason, we never got a chance to do it. But this is the week that we are going to be doing it. So just kind of saying up front, this is not going to be a super in-depth deep dive of this case. You know, there are podcasts that do multiple episodes. I think there's one podcast that does like 100 episodes or something on just this one case, because you can go into the nitty-gritty details and there's lots to discuss. But we're just going to be more so talking about the general facts of the case, the timeline, and the main things that occur. And then we're going to spend some time talking about our theories surrounding the case and everything like that. So just putting that up front. There might be some things in here that we don't talk about, but we just sort of picked through the information to kind of give you the main points that we wanted to discuss. So this case really starts on February 9th is where, she goes missing. So February 9th of 2004. And there's a winter storm that is sweeping across Haverhill, New Hampshire. And it's here that there is a mysterious crash that sets into motion one of the most baffling missing persons cases, like I said, that's been out there, and it's just really, really wild. So 21-year-old Maura Murray, she was a bright nursing student from UMass Amherst, and she vanished without a trace after this seemingly minor car accident on a back road in Haverhill, New Hampshire, in the middle of a storm, and she was never seen again. So Maura was born on May 4th, 1982, and she was very smart and very athletic in her early years. She had an older brother, Fred Jr., two older sisters, Kathleen and Julie, and a younger brother, Kurt. So after graduating high school, Maura attended the West Point Military Academy. Her sister Julie had also attended a few years before and thought that Maura would really enjoy it. However, Maura had transferred to UMass Amherst to study nursing after just a short time at West Point. So West Point, though prestigious, just wasn't the right fit for her. So she ends up transferring to UMass. She is there studying nursing, and in November of 2003, she's in her junior year. And so this is a few months before she goes missing. And in November, she is caught using a stolen credit card to buy food at a fast food restaurant. And she eventually gets charged for this crime. But her case was continued with the expectation that it would be dropped if she kept out of trouble for 3 months. So that is kind of the norm for like these small misdemeanor charges. They come to the agreement that, if you stay out of trouble for a certain amount of time and you don't get any other charges or anything like that, or do this again, then we would just, drop the charges altogether.
Yeah. Do you know anything about like what trouble she was in before she went to UMass?
No, I don't. Do you? Do you have
Okay,
notes on
yeah.
that?
Well, there's like this one incident, and like some people think that that's like kind of the excuse that she used was that she wanted to transfer to nursing. That's why she left. But her school, or maybe just her and her friends, had done a trip to Fort Knox, and Maura, for whatever reason, stole some things from Fort Knox and got caught. And it comes out that it was really just minor things. Like there was like a department store or something at Fort Knox, and she just stole like nail polish and like lipstick or something. But anyway, she got caught, of course, because Fort Knox. And her punishment was she got expelled or something, or if she didn't leave, she would have been in trouble. So she left, and that's why she went to UMass. Some people are saying, well, that's just the excuse. She wanted to transfer to nursing, so that's why she left. But she did get in trouble before she even went to UMass. So there's kind of like this pattern of like little things that are happening in her life. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay. And that's actually there in my notes, like later on when I get to more recent developments, there is some like talk, but just very general about it, saying there was some judicial issue or something at West Point, but it didn't go into detail. So that's good to kind of like fill in the blanks there. But yeah, so this wasn't the first time when she steals this credit card and buys food in November 2003. Obviously, based on what Katie said, that wasn't the first time that she had gotten into some type of trouble. So yeah. That happens in November 2003. And then we're going to skip to February 5th of 2004. Now, this is just days before she goes missing. So the night of February 5th, Maura is working on her campus security shift. And during her shift, I think it's like the evening or overnight shift, she takes a call from her sister, Kathleen. And Kathleen, her sister was recently discharged from rehab for an alcohol problem. And she had called Maura to kind of just talk about something that was troubling her. And she says that, her fiance had picked her up from the rehab and on their way home had driven her straight to a liquor store. And this caused a relapse. And so this was just the content of the conversation that they were talking about. And this conversation, this topic deeply upset Maura. So her supervisor later said that she appeared completely zoned out after this phone call. She broke down in tears. She was just unresponsive, sort of as if she was lost in deep thought or she was shocked. And so her supervisor says that around 1:20 a.m., they walked her back to her dorm. And Maura disclosed at that time that her sister was the reason that she was so distraught. Then 2 days later, on February 7th, Maura's father, Fred, comes to visit her in Amherst. And the two of them spend the day together car shopping, and they go out for dinner. And that night, Maura borrows her dad's car to attend a dorm party back at campus. And so in the early morning hours of February 8th, so at around 2:30 a.m., she leaves the party and she ends up crashing her dad's car on the way back to the motel where her dad was staying. So police respond to this, but the report omits whether she was tested for alcohol or not. So there's nothing in the report that says she wasn't sober or that she was sober. There was just no mention of it at all, seeming like they just kind of never asked or they never checked, just sort of glossed over. But if I had to make the assumption, she probably was drinking. She went to a dorm party. She's in her junior year. It's 2:30 a.m. She's coming home. I would assume maybe not like totally wasted, but like probably had drank some alcohol for sure.
Yeah. Also, in the things that I've looked up, it's kind of just assumed that she was drinking and driving. And so it was just like another thing that she was going to get in trouble for. So I think that's like the assumption, is that she was drinking.
Yeah. So not great. And so Maura was transported back to her father's motel that night after the crash. And by 4:49 a.m., a call is made from her father's phone to Maura's boyfriend, although it's not known what was talked about or anything like that, just that there was this call made. So her dad actually ends up renting a car the next day and has to go and returns back to Connecticut. Obviously, he can't drive his own car because it was totaled or it was just not drivable after Maura had crashed it. So he rents a car, goes home, and then he calls her at around 11:30 p.m. on that Sunday night to remind her to get accident report forms from the registry for motor vehicles the next day so that they could formally report the crash. I did see notes that said, or, reports out there that he did find out that his insurance was going to cover the damage. So he had to fill out one of these forms to submit it to insurance was the purpose of this. So we asked her to go pick those up on Sunday night. So this brings us to Monday, February 9th, which is the day, as I said at the beginning, she goes missing. So the events, I'm going to kind of go through, her movements that day, things that she did, and they're all really kind of suspicious or odd. So on Monday, February 9th, Maura begins making calls and internet searches for condominium rentals in Vermont and New Hampshire. Although she doesn't end up booking anything, she actually used MapQuest. This kind of dates the case. You can tell when MapQuest used to be a thing before Google Maps, but she used MapQuest to like map a route from Amherst to Burlington, Vermont. And Burlington and the Vermont area was actually familiar for the Murray family. Her sister Julie recalls that growing up, they took many trips there. Her father says they would go, 3 to 4 times a year. And so her dad says that Maura knew that area like her backyard. So she, she knew that area, but she didn't know exactly how to get there from where she was. So she had mapped this route. So then that afternoon at 1 p.m., Maura emails her boyfriend to say she loved him and that she had received his messages, though she didn't want to talk. Minutes later, she calls a fellow nursing student or classmate. Then she emails her academic advisors or professors to say that she was going to be out of class for the next week due to a death in the family. But as it turns out, this was a total lie. Her family says that there was no death that had occurred at that time in the family. So at 2:05 p.m., she phones an information line about Vermont hotels, but doesn't book anything. And then at 2:18 p.m., she leaves a voicemail for her boyfriend saying that they would talk later. So it's clear from this that she is planning to go to Vermont. She has this route mapped out. She's looking for condominium rentals for at least a week. And she's advising or she's informing her classmates or professors that she's going to be away for a week. So she is obviously clearly planning to go there for at least a week. When investigators later searched her dorm room, so after she goes missing, they found that her belongings in her dorm room were neatly packed into boxes, and the artwork was removed from the walls and it was packed into some of these boxes. So it looks like she was leaving or packing to leave permanently. However, she did take some items with her. So she took some textbooks, clothing, and her birth control pills. And on top of one of the boxes was a printed email that was addressed to Maura's boyfriend, referencing relationship problems between them. And the police said that they do not know if she packed these boxes the same day she disappeared, but they did confirm that it was between Sunday evening and Monday morning. So at some point in that time, she went and basically packed up her whole entire dorm room, which is, again, weird. So then her next known movement at 3:16 p.m. or 3:16 p.m., Maura was seen on ATM footage withdrawing nearly all the money in her account. So this is the footage that was captured on the ATM camera. And as you can see, it's dated 2/9/2004 and 15/15. So 3:15. And as you can see, she's alone in this footage. And she withdraws nearly all the money in her account. It's about $280. Then she leaves from the ATM and she goes and buys about $40 worth of liquor from a nearby liquor store. And she's spotted on surveillance footage here again, but she's also alone there. And her sister says that she also reportedly recycled 79 cans, which gave her a total of $3.95 as well. And in one of the videos I watched I think it was Law and Crime, they interviewed her sister. Her sister says that this was a detail that kind of points to her that Maura hadn't planned to disappear. It's kind of weird that you would go and recycle your cans to get $3.95. And for whatever reason, Julie said, that just kind of points to that she wasn't just planning to disappear. Because if you were planning to disappear and trying to get out of town quickly, that's not really something you would bother to do, I don't think.
Also, another thing that came up that makes them think she was planning on coming back was she had submitted her homework assignment that morning, 3 a.m. or something. She emailed her professor. So why would you bother doing and submitting your homework assignments if you are planning on not even coming back? So that's one other thing that points to she may have just been leaving for the weekend or something. So,
yeah, that's true. So in that way, it seems that she had planned to come back, but also then she also packed her belongings away in her entire room into those boxes as if she was planning to leave.
Do they know that she actually did pack everything up? Because there was some theories that was well, it was only February. Maybe she hadn't even unpacked everything yet. To only go and look at her dorm, it's everything's packed up because she just hadn't unpacked it yet. I don't know about you, but when I go somewhere, like my suitcase sits on the floor for like months after. Like everything's not even unpacked. So, and when you
Yeah,
move
that's
like
true.
boxes just for months, just, you know, so I don't know. Maybe she was just that
But
type of person that just didn't unpack right away.
it was also February. Like she would have got there for the year in September. Like she left them for 5 months, 6 months. It seems a little weird.
Well, yeah, I guess. So should she live there over the holidays and stuff too? Because I think the assumption was like she had left and then it was like a fresh move in January. I don't know. Maybe, yeah. Because when when did she transfer to that school? Was it in the middle of the year? Maybe she just had gotten there? I don't know.
Well, no, I
That
think
timeline is weird.
I think she was in her junior year at UMass. So what's that, your third year? She transferred from the military academy to UMass after one. Oh, that timeline's also weird because I've seen things where it said she was at the military academy for 1 year, and then others that say she was there for 2 years and then transferred over. So that's kind of weird that it would be one or the other. But there is conflicting information on that. But anyway, she transferred. So I took it, her being in her junior year, like it wasn't her first year. Because I feel like if you transferred from the military academy, like you wouldn't be able to start at a new school in your junior year. Because a lot of unless you could transfer a lot of your courses, but I feel like you would sort of be starting over. Maybe you would be starting a semester ahead or maybe 1 year. But to me, it's a little bit weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I guess if she was in her junior year, but she was only 21.
Yeah.
So like if she was in the military academy for 2 years and then she went to this school for 3 years, she'd be older than 21. So I guess she wasn't at UMass for 3 years.
Did you have like any roommates, like in the dorm, like a roommate, or just her?
I think it was just her. I didn't see any information about that you had talked to a roommate or anything like that. So I think she
did they talk to the boyfriend
on her own. Yeah, I mean they questioned the boy. Like I'll get into. I don't really get into the boyfriend that much, but he was questioned. Like he helps out with the search, and he's questioned and stuff.
Did he notice that her room was unpacked? Like did he ever visit? So I'm saying, like, how do they know that, like Katie said, how do they know that, like, maybe she didn't unpack it? Like, did somebody confirm that, like...
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the fact that there's theory that she didn't means that we don't know for sure. Like, there's a theory that maybe she didn't, but I don't know if that's ever been confirmed one way or the other.
But you are right, though. Like, why would she go to, like, the bottle depot and, like, what's $3 going to get you? Nowhere. Like drink somewhere, maybe.
Unless she, like, went and, like, bought so she could get another thing of alcohol or something. Like,
maybe
$3.95 might get you a little bottle or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But it's just, I don't know.
Yeah. Also, another weird thing is, like, in this docuseries that I watched, one of her classmates, like from nursing school, like said that Maura had called her and said she wanted to return a bunch of the clothes that she had borrowed, and her friend was like, no, don't worry about it. But then that night that friend got a knock on the door. She didn't answer the door, but then when she went to look later, the bag of her clothes that Maura had borrowed were there. So it was like she was dropping off these clothes that she didn't really need to drop off if she was planning on coming back, kind of thing, right? Like it's like kind of like a little loose end. She didn't want to like have her friend's clothes if she wasn't going to be there to give them back later. I don't know, just like another little thing. Like why bother doing that? So everything she's doing like really doesn't add up. If she's planning on not coming back, wants to drop off her clothes just so she doesn't have her friend's clothes forever, but also passing in her assignments, packing up her stuff, like all this stuff isn't really adding up for something that you would do for one theory, right? Like, you know what I mean? So it's weird.
Yeah. And also the fact that she emailed everyone and said she was going to be gone for a week. So it makes it seem like she really just wanted to go away for a week and was going to come back after that, because she could just not say anything. Like, why did she have to? If she was really just going to disappear and whatever, she could just, maybe, I guess, so they wouldn't come looking for her right away or something. I don't know. But yeah, it seems kind of weird because like you'd see she's packing up all of her stuff. And then she doesn't take all of her stuff, so she must have thought she was going to be coming back, right? I guess unless she didn't unpack it to begin with, like you're saying. But let's say for a minute she did pack it up on her own. but she didn't take it with her when she left. So she must have been planning to come back at another time and take all that stuff. Otherwise, why would you bother packing it?
Well, it
You
kind of
could
goes
just
back
leave.
to the other case we did on Zach Lapisa. I think his name was. Where he gave his friend all of his stuff.
No, Bryce.
Oh, Bryce. Sorry,
Bryce
that's
Lapisa.
Zach, sorry.
It was like a week ago.
Bryce, sorry. And like he gave his friends his stuff, like he was like going somewhere and not coming back. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like the same thing. Like she was trying to get rid of stuff or pack up things, and it's like she's not coming back. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, why pass in all
Yeah.
your assignments? Well, why pass all your assignments if you're not coming back?
Yeah, why take the time to do your homework
Yeah.
and pass stuff
Yeah,
in
yeah.
if you're planning on not even coming back?
Yeah.
And another thing people say is like, oh, she emptied out her bank account because she was planning on like not using the bank account again. But I mean, it's only $280, so it'd be a different thing if she like had thousands of dollars and she emptied out her bank account. But I mean, $280, that's not that much.
And she spent 40 of it on alcohol,
Right,
so
so-
she only has like
Yeah.
and whatever. But
And yeah, she
240.
had to empty it out. She like, there's no point in taking less than that really if you're going to be going for a week. So yeah.
And also, she was going to be booking some type of accommodation for the week. But I guess she
Yeah.
could use her credit card for that. But
Well, that makes me think that like
But-
she was calling around to all these places and realizing how expensive it was, and like she didn't have the money for that. So that's maybe why she didn't book anything, because everything was just too much money for her. Or she was like planning on meeting a bunch of friends there and they were all going to pitch in. So she was just getting prices. So I don't know. That's just some theories that are out there.
yeah, because that was one of the, like she called that day to ask about the availability for the week. And she was on the phone call was like just a couple minutes. She never ended up booking it. So it's like either they said there was no availability or they said there was and this is the price and she decided not to. I don't know. Or like you said, just getting different prices from different places. So just odd. But also, like you said, the theory, like if she was planning to meet other people, like no one's ever come forward to say, oh yeah, we plan to go here, like, which we'll get into, like no one's ever said like she was planning to meet me or I went here to meet her or we had done this. It's just very, very weird.
I don't know if like
to say the least.
Like, I don't know if this, like, it means anything, but, like, the video camera image of her, like, taking money out, she looks, I don't know, maybe it's just the video itself, but she looks sad. Like, she doesn't look like she's, like, happy to go somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, taking out the money, like, no, she just looks very, like,
Yeah, but also like,
just maybe it's the way the video is.
I'm sure a lot of people look like that if they're at an ATM. Not a very exciting
True,
thing. I don't know.
but, like, she doesn't look very, like, I don't know, like someone's excited to go somewhere, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
But
that's weird. I don't know.
But it's the ATM camera, so really how, like, good are those, really?
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's grainy. It's also 2004, so like 20 years ago now. But yeah, so I don't know. Very odd. But yeah, like you said, she emptied out her bank account. So when you say, oh, she emptied out her bank account, it's like that leads you to one sort of line of thought, but then you're like, oh, it's only $280. So it's not that crazy to think. So yeah, so before she leaves town, after she, picks up the alcohol and she gets the money out and she recycles the 79 cans, she picks up at the accident report forms for her father's damaged car, like he had asked her to, and then she sets off in her black 1996 Saturn sedan. So then at around 4:30, or I think it's 4:37 is the exact time, she makes one final phone call to check her voicemail. But then after that, it's silence. She never uses her phone again after that. So by 7:27 p.m. is the next sighting of Maura. So Maura's car is spotted in Haverhill, New Hampshire, nearly 2 hours from her campus. A resident hears a loud thud and looks outside to see a car against a snowbank. So the car was facing westbound on the eastbound side of the road. So it had swerved and gone off and ended up pointing in the opposite direction. The resident calls 911 to report the accident. And at first, she states in the 911 call log or to someone that she saw a man smoking inside the vehicle. However, she later revised this story to say that she didn't actually see anyone or a cigarette, but that may have just been like a red light, possibly from a cell phone. inside the car. That's a weird conclusion to jump to, that it's someone inside smoking a cigarette, and then after, oh no, it's just a red light inside. Is weird. But anyway, so minutes later, another man sees Maura, and this time it's someone who lives a little bit further down the road, is the neighbor, I guess, to maybe this other woman who called 911. His name is Butch Atwood, and he's a school bus driver. So he sees the car, and he actually speaks to Maura and asks her if she needs help. She said she doesn't need any help and that she's already called AAA. But Butch says that he found this suspicious because he lived in the area. He knew that it had very poor cell reception and that it would be impossible for her to have gotten a hold of AAA in this really remote location while it's snowing. It's just, there's no way. So she says she doesn't need help. So he drives home, which is just a couple of minutes down the road, and he calls 911 at around 7:43 p.m., which is about 16 minutes after the first call was placed by the other neighbor that I mentioned before. So and this is one other thing that's kind of a little bit confusing, because he told police, or I guess I'm a little bit confused of whether he told police, but he told police that he could no longer see Maura or her car from his window. But there are some reports out there that conflict on that point. There are some saying that he could see the car from his window, but that he couldn't see her. But then there's reports saying that he said that he couldn't see the car or her. So I don't know what is actually true, depending on how close he lived to where the crash was. But there's a little bit of conflicting information there. I don't know, Katie, if you saw anything one way or the other.
Yeah, I don't really know what his stories were, but apparently his stories changed a bunch of times. So like what he saw or what he said didn't match up every single time. And I don't actually know the details of what each story was of his, but that's why people were suspicious of him, because it was like, it's not adding up some of the things, and you're changing things, and like, why would you be saying random stuff different times? So yeah, he became like a little bit of a suspicious character. And people are, and like, honestly, you look at him, like if he pulled up beside me in a bus and was like, do you need a ride somewhere? I'd be like, fuck no, because he's like a big guy, and you wouldn't want to be like trapped in a bus with a guy like that looks like that if you don't know him, right? He might have been harmless, but he was like a big guy. So I could see why she would be like, no, I don't want to go anywhere with you. But then maybe go with somebody else she didn't know in a regular car. So that'll come later. Like,
and I don't know
but yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if he was in the bus when he saw her. Like, he was a bus driver, but I don't know if he was like driving the bus.
Well, that's like what I saw, the docuseries that I was told you about. They like, I don't know if they just assumed but yeah, it said he pulled up in the bus and asked if she wanted to drive.
Oh, okay.
He asked her. So, I mean, that'd be like a weird thing to happen when you're like on a desolate road. I'd be like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, anyway, he goes and he calls 911 at 7:43. Because and that's actually interesting too, because I was thinking, because he was suspicious that she wouldn't have called AAA even though she said she did, and that's why he's like, maybe she needs something. And I was like, well, why would she lie and said that? But it makes perfect sense now that you're saying it. Like, she might not feel comfortable getting into a bus with this large man on this dark, desolate road. So she might be like, I'll wait till the next person comes along. So she might be thinking in her mind. So yes, he calls the police, or 911, at 7:43 p.m. and the police arrive on the scene at 7:46 to find the car locked with no one inside. And so in this narrow window between when this man Butch left her on the side of the road and their arrival, Maura had vanished. So the accident report states that the car had spun out near some trees and ended up facing the wrong direction. Butch told police that the driver was a young woman. She was alone, and she had asked him not to call the police. He said that she seemed shaken, but not noticeably drunk or injured. He said that he could not see any blood on her face or anything like that. So the scene was very strange. There was a rag stuffed into the tailpipe of the car, which was odd. There was red liquid which was possibly wine, found inside the car. There was a damaged box of wine in the back seat, along with an empty beer can. And there were also some of her belongings in the car. So things like her backpack, her coat, gloves, driver's license, her favorite stuffed animal. And there was also a book about mountain climbing in New Hampshire, CDs, and jewelry that were all still in the car. But an interesting note is that not all of the liquor that she purchased at that liquor store was accounted for, which indicates that she likely took some of the alcohol with her when she abandoned the car. But why? We don't know. So another thought that I had was either if she didn't abandon her car and take some of the alcohol with her, then the only other explanation for why all of the alcohol that she bought would not be in the car was that maybe she had already drank some of it between the time that she buys it and before she leaves for New Hampshire. So I Google mapped the route from the UMass campus to where her car crashed in Haverhill, New Hampshire. And it's about a 2-hour and 4-minute drive, which is if you take the fastest route. But when she was last accounted for at the ATM and the liquor store was before 4 p.m. that day, 3:15 at the ATM and the liquor store shortly after. So where was she from that time all the way until 7:27 when she crashes her car in New Hampshire? That's still unknown, since it seems only 2 of those hours were spent actually driving. So maybe there's 2 hours unaccounted for. So I'm thinking maybe she was somewhere else, drank some of the alcohol with someone else before she leaves on the road for New Hampshire. But another thing is it also was snowing out. It's bad weather. So it's easy for a 2-hour road trip to take 4 hours in that kind of weather, or maybe she got lost or something like that. But so it's either she buys the alcohol and drinks some of it somewhere else and then gets in the car and goes, or she takes some of it with her when she abandons the car. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
So
if you're
also,
oh, go ahead.
On that note, when I watched this docuseries, so it was called The Disappearance of Maura Murray, and it had a journalist named Maggie Furling and a former U.S. Marshal named Art Roderick, and they were kind of doing this documentary together, and they actually retraced Maura's steps that she took that night. So they went to the ATM, they went to the same liquor store, and acted out the things that she would have done. So they took money out, bought some liquor, and then they took the drive out there. And they said something similar, but it took them an hour less than it took Maura. And this was it was snowing for them too. The roads were kind of sketchy. And the Maggie driving wasn't familiar with the area. So it was not like she knew where she was going. And so it was kind of a similar situation. And so, yeah, it took them an hour less than they're saying it took Maura. So they're also thinking that she stopped before she went on the highway, or she had stopped for gas, stopped for food somewhere that took an hour. And that's kind of where a lot of theories come in. It's was she with people? Did she go out to eat with them? Did she meet some random people on the way? So it's what happened in this missing hour? Yeah, so that brings a lot of speculation in.
Yeah, because it wasn't. Yeah, because that kind of lines up with my thinking too of she ends up on that road at 7:27 but she couldn't have left right after she left the liquor store to drive there unless she got, like you said, unless she met someone, made some stops, or she gets lost and is driving around and couldn't find her way and ends up at this place much later than she normally would have. Yeah, that's really the only. Where was she in those missing hours?
Is this a road, a route that she's taken often? Because you said she used to go up to Vermont, right, with her family, back when she was a kid. Is this a route that she would take that you remember?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah, like I said, they had taken lots of trips to Vermont. She knew the area, but I don't think she necessarily knew the route to drive there from the campus that she was at. So that's why she had to map it out on MapQuest.
Yeah, also her family, when she was a kid, she went camping a lot with her dad and sisters up in White Mountain, which was kind of in the general direction she was heading. But it's almost like she kind of made a wrong turn or was going the wrong way because the road she was found on like wasn't how you would get there normally. So I think like my opinion, just from what I know, is that like she really didn't know where she was going. She hadn't really been there. It wasn't like a planned route. So it was just kind of like a random, and it was really desolate. Like you were saying, there was really not much around. There was no cell service on this road that she was on. And so, yeah, it's like this big stretch of road. And there really would be no reason to go out there unless you were lost, you had no idea where you were going, or you like had a specific destination in mind, which there's no evidence that she actually did. So yeah, that's part of the mystery as well. Why was
Like
she even out there?
Like my theory is, and then I could totally be off, but like I feel like all of these things that she did before she crashed or led up to the crash were like, like not delusions, but like eluded people to think that she crashed and like something awful happened to her. But in my opinion, I feel like because of the previous events of her packing up her stuff and taking all her money out, I feel like all these little things are like things to like make people not want to find her. Do you know what I mean? Like crashing the car and like taking off and like getting lost in like a remote place is like things that she did intentionally to like.
You mean like not wanting to find her, but not like to throw people off? Is what you're saying?
Yes. And
I don't.
And I could be totally wrong, but like just from the previous events that we were talking about, just kind of leads me to like that thought because like I feel like she like if you were hurt and like if you crashed, because you crashed into like a snowbank, right? And I feel like like snowbanks can really damage your car if you're going at like a high speed, especially if you were like drinking and like you were like I don't know. I just feel like it was intentional. I feel like it was something to like throw people off.
Yeah, and like the airbags were deployed, so it's like she hit hard enough that the airbags came out. And yeah, sometimes it makes me think that like she really didn't have a destination. She might have just like wanted to get away and was just driving wherever. But then it's like, why go on this random street in the middle of the storm, in the middle of the night? Why not just stay on the highway? You know, like it just seems like creepy to go on this side street that's just desolate in the middle of the woods, kind of.
And another part of me was thinking, like, maybe she didn't want anybody to see her on the highway because, you know, how sometimes there's highway cameras, like, you can spot her car. Like, maybe she didn't want anybody to find her. So that's why she took, an off-road where there's, like, nothing around, where she could just kind of, I don't know, be by herself type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's a good point. I never thought, like, going a route that no one would think to look. Like, obviously, she wasn't planning to crash the car, like, and people to see her and like call 911 and stuff. So like, but so maybe she was like going to take an off route so that she couldn't be spotted. Like if the idea was that she was just trying to get away or go missing or just didn't want anyone to find her or know where she was. Like clearly she didn't want anyone to know where she was because she never told anyone that we know of that she had plans to go somewhere that, like, you know what I mean? Like I'll get into it later, but when her family finds out she's missing, but like nobody knew. She had never told anyone, oh, I'm going to take a trip or I'm going to go do this. Like nobody knew anything that she was planning to leave. So it's like, if she was trying to have it so no one could find her, it's like maybe a good point that she did intentionally take these like routes that would be random and no one would think to look and wouldn't be necessarily spotted by anyone. Yeah. And like, as you have up, if you're watching the video version of this, you can see like, this is the road that she crashed on. Like you can see it's like wooded area. It's like barely, just very sporadically there's houses or something. There's this like red house at the corner there, but this is in the area that she would have crashed her car. So just think about this area at night, 7:30 in February. It's probably dark, snowing, dark on this creepy road. So just the whole thing is really creepy, honestly. So yeah. What's the next thing on my notes here? Yeah. So like I said, we don't know where she was in those hours between when she left the liquor store and when she ends up here along the side of the road. There is some time that is not accounted for. So what's that, something that's even stranger? Oh, and also, Katie, I was going to actually mention before I continued. Her family did go like to White Mountain or whatever. The book that was in her car was about hiking in White Mountain. So that's another interesting thing. Like, yeah.
Yeah, she may have been trying to go there, but also I find it odd if it's like the middle of the winter and she doesn't have a destination. Like, she's going to go hiking in the woods by herself in the middle of the winter. Like, where is she planning on staying? Like, that's the weird thing. Is just like she's just out in the middle of out in the middle of nowhere. Even if she was planning to be there, like what was her actual destination? Because it's cold, like it'd be freezing. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's
yeah.
weird.
I mean, she was looking at accommodation options for like condos and stuff for rentals, but we don't know. It doesn't seem that she actually booked any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
she was at least thinking that, but never got, I guess, decided on one, obviously, or that we know of. Like, no one's ever came forward and said, oh yeah, she had a reservation here or anything like that. We just know that she called around and never actually decided on one. So what's even something that's even stranger also is that there were no footprints, like really, like in the snow around the vehicle or like leading away from the vehicle. So it really was that she sort of just vanished out of thin air. Like, she's seen by this bus driver, Butch, but between the time he leaves her and the police arrive, like minutes later, she's just gone. It's just very weird. And like I said, the car was locked and no one was in it. Just some of the belongings that I mentioned before. The car was quickly towed away to a nearby garage. Her phone, her debit, and her credit cards were not found, but they were also never used again. So it's clear that she probably took those things, but she never actually used any of them after she left that car.
Also, a weird thing that you had mentioned, and I feel like we kind of glossed over it, was the rag in her tailpipe. Have you guys heard any theories about what that's about?
Well, there's a lot of stuff. Like, I kind of went down the Reddit rabbit hole and stuff, or like stuff online, and there's a lot of stuff that's saying like her dad said that he had told her to do that, or something that her dad had mentioned.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's
Yeah,
but the reasoning
actually,
was weird.
Well, yeah, actually, in this documentary, they talk to Fred, her father, and he says that, yeah, because her car was like just so like beat up and it was missing like a cylinder or something, that it would smoke really bad. So he told her that to get, like, if there's cops on the side of the road, like watching, if you put a rag in the tailpipe, that will help it like not be super smoky and you won't get pulled over. Or like that was kind of the explanation, which is weird. Like, you have that rag in your tailpipe the entire ride just so that you don't get pulled over by police because your car is smoking. I don't know.
Like, I don't know if like just like I tried to look that up to see if that's actual thing to do, and I didn't really find anything. So I was like, I don't know if that's like something that you would like actually do, or that's just her dad saying that just that's what she could do, but it's actually not really
But
good thing to do because it's almost like carbon monoxide.
well, that was the other thing that came up was like carbon monoxide poisoning. But in order for carbon monoxide, like if you're outside, you would have to have like some type of hose or something from the exhaust into the car to do carbon monoxide. Like, because it's not gonna. I think that's what like stuff I saw online. Obviously, I don't know. I'm not an expert on cars for sure, but like, I just think there was also another thing about like saying you could test to see if there was any like leaks in the exhaust by putting a rag in it or something. I don't know. I don't, like, again, I'm not an expert in cars, so I don't know like if that's a thing that works. But why would her dad say that if that wasn't true? Like, if he says, "Oh, I told her that."
Yeah, like he
Then obviously
actually
he did.
said that he told her that. So that seems like likely. Maybe like she just didn't want to risk her car smoking and the cops noticing. Like another theory that was out there was that when she had stopped at one of these stops, someone had put that in there so that her car, then they followed her so that her car would stall and she would have to get out. There's no proof of that, obviously. And there was also in that docuseries, they did a test to see if that would stall your car, and they found that it like likely wouldn't cause your car to stall. So all these weird theories, it seems like, yeah, it probably was her father because he admitted it and put a rag in your tailpipe, and there was a rag in her tailpipe. So that seems to be what that was about.
So yeah, I
It's
just
she
looked it up.
drove.
Like, I actually just looked it up. Like,
Yeah.
literally put in rag in a tailpipe to help, and it says rag in a tailpipe to help with the heat, like, is not recommended or effective solution. Like, because it can like actually like damage your car even more.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not a good
Because it
idea,
can
but
catch fire.
hmm
So
She drove for hours with a rag in the tailpipe? Like, that to me seems, wouldn't it have fallen out?
yeah.
Oh.
And actually, in the test that they did, it did fall out after like a minute or something. So I don't know. Like, it might not have been there the whole time. Like when she stopped the last time, maybe she had put it in there because we don't know when or if she stopped, right? So she could have stopped like 20 minutes before that accident or something, and just put it in there then. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah. And it's also like, so if she didn't want to get, like, because what I was thinking when you were saying that is like her dad told her that so that she wouldn't get pulled over. So it's like going back to what we were saying before of like, she wanted to make sure that she was not going to be able to be like found wherever she was going. So like, she didn't want to get stopped she didn't want the possibility of getting stopped by the police due to her smoking car, because then there would be a report or there would be like some type of evidence that she was somewhere. But then she ends up crashing and it all, we find out that she was in this area anyway. So it kind of goes to make me think that like she was doing anything she could to like not get stopped. And also if she was drinking, that's also, definitely don't want to get caught. Like if she knew that she was going to be drinking while she was driving, then she definitely didn't want to take the risk of having the cops stop her for a smoky car. So she might have done that. So I don't know.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Because
also,
the box of wine she had bought was open, and like you said, it was like splashed everywhere. And so, yeah.
But also could have been damaged, like in the crash, that just busted open.
I guess. I think there was also evidence that there was like some liquor in a pop bottle that was in the front seat as well. Like she had been mixing it with her pop. I don't know. That's just another thing that they didn't really go into much detail about. Like, also, they had said
I think
that
there was some on the front, the driver's side window or something. There was some of that liquid too.
Yeah.
Like as if she had maybe had it in her hand and crashed and it spilled all over the window or something. I think.
Yeah, that's what I was
that
thinking.
Was one of the details too, yeah.
Also, like another thing that came up was she had bought like a 12-pack of vodka coolers, and then when they found her car, there was 4 missing from that pack. So it's like she had been drinking them on the way. Whether that's actually true, I think the conclusion to this is that it's likely she was drinking as she was driving up there. So that could be a huge reason why she didn't want the cops to find her. It's another like drinking and driving charge. So.
Yeah, and they never found the empty cooler bottles either. I guess she could have just chucked them out the window. But
yeah, or if she stopped, she could have like cleaned out all the empty bottles from her car somewhere, the gas station.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Just very, very weird. So her sister Julie believes that Maura may have suffered a concussion because the windshield of the car was cracked and the airbags had been deployed, like you said. So I'm actually if you're watching the video version of this, I'm going to put up a picture of the car. So this was Maura's car, like the front end damage. So it was undrivable, just because of it hit it. Obviously, if you're hitting the airbags are deploying, it's a pretty rough impact. So this was the front end damage to the car, and it wasn't going to be drivable in any way. So Julie says that she believes maybe Maura had suffered a concussion if she hit her head. And she also suspects that Maura could have been drinking, as we've already said, which could explain her reluctance to involve the police. And Julie sort of, theorizes or something that perhaps Maura didn't yet realize that she would have no cell signal and turned down help from Butch because she thought, like she probably thought she could still get cell signal or something like that, and thought maybe she would just accept a ride from someone else who would come after Butch. Maybe kind of like we had talked about. She maybe didn't feel comfortable with getting into the car with him or to the bus with him, so maybe she just thought she would go with the next person. But no one has ever come forward to ever say that they picked her up along the route, that she got into their car at any time or anything like that. And despite extensive searches, they never did find any other belongings of Maura's or her body or anything like that. Like really her trail just ends here. So they actually did have police, they had scent dogs involved during the search, and they tracked her scent for about 100 yards east from where her car was left before ultimately losing the trail kind of just out of nowhere, like in the middle of the road. So this led police to believe that she left the area in another car, implying that she was picked up by someone else who then took her somewhere else. And that's kind of what we've seen in other... We talked about this in the Bryceless piece of case too, of where the scent dogs had sort of traced his scent to this truck stop, but then it stopped as if he had gotten into a car. So this is a similar thing here. Like so it seems that she walked from her car 100 yards east and then it just stopped. So she must have gotten into a car at that time. There'd be no other way that her scent would just stop. And it was 2 different dogs, I think. And there was no way that her scent would just stop out of nowhere unless she got into a car. That's really the only way that your scent just stops. But like I said, no trace of Maura has ever been found. The family wasn't even notified of her disappearance until the next day, February 10th. So it was her sister Kathleen who received the call and informs the rest of the family. And like I said earlier, no one even knew Maura had left campus and did not have any knowledge that she was planning to take a trip or that she had planned to go anywhere. So they were even surprised at the fact that she would even be on this road in New Hampshire in the middle of a snowstorm. So, and the family was kind of pretty frustrated with the investigation from the beginning. Police treated it as sort of a voluntary disappearance and didn't really prioritize the search immediately. The crucial first 24 hours were really lost. And Julie, her sister Julie, talks about that, saying that like your trail's most hot, of course, when you're the first 24 hours. And there wasn't really any sort of attempt made. Like I said, the family wasn't even notified till the next day. The police eventually did obviously do the investigation with the scent dogs and everything like that, but it was not in that crucial first 24 hours. And so eventually the investigation intensified, but the trail had gone cold by that time. So never found any... They didn't find her body, never found any of her belongings outside of what was in her car, and her scent just stops. And that was the last time she was ever seen or heard from again. So that's really, like where everything sort of ends, because that's all we know at this time. So the theories are either foul play, was it an intentional disappearance, was it an accident, like maybe she succumbed to the elements since it was winter, it was cold, she wandered off, maybe if she had been drinking and she had a concussion, it's like delusional and she goes off and wanders and gets lost and dies in the elements. But that would also not explain why there was no footprints around the car or leading away from the car, anything like that. So super weird. So what do you guys think out of those things, like foul play, intentional disappearance, or accident?
Yeah, like I just want to say that they did do a search around the perimeter of where the car was crashed, and yeah, like you were saying, it hadn't snowed since that night, so it wasn't like snow had covered up footprints if there was any. Like there just wasn't any sign that she had gone off into the woods. So I feel like her running into the woods is not a possibility because you can't hide your own footprints. I think kind of like the second 2 theories are kind of combined. Like she had planned to like disappear for like a week or so, maybe, like kind of like how she had said she's going to be gone for a week, but she was planning on coming back. But foul play came into play at the same time. So it was like she was planning on leaving, coming back, but she was met with foul play at the same time. So I think that's what happened here.
So you think like whoever picked her up in a car, did something to her?
Yeah, I think that's... I mean, that seems like the most likely is she was picked up by somebody, something happened, and they killed her. I mean, that person also could have picked her up, dropped her off somewhere, and then something could have happened to her then. But there's no sightings, and that person, like, nobody ever came forward saying they picked her up. So there's also like another theory that she was like driving in tandem with somebody else. So there was like 2 cars driving down that road with someone that she knew, and then once she had gotten to that accident, she got into that other person's car and took off with them, and it was like a friend that was helping her disappear, so that's why they never came forward, because it was like they helped her get out of there and then never said anything. So there's like another theory that really doesn't have any proof either way. So.
But also, like, Butch never says that there was another vehicle in the area. Like, you'd think if this other driver, they would have stayed in the same area when she crashed. But Butch never says, oh, there was another car parked like a little bit down the thing, or the other girl, the other
he
woman
came
who called
from
the
other
police.
way, right? Which way did he come from? Did he come from the way they were headed, or the way that they had come from?
I don't know, but like, because like the car was facing the opposite direction from where the direction of travel. So I think she was traveling, like, I can't remember what I said. She was traveling westbound, but the car was facing eastbound, right? So I don't know which way he was coming.
Yeah. It makes me think that like she was behind somebody, and so that person was ahead of them a little bit, and then she crashes, and then if someone's coming, I guess they would have seen another car though. Yeah.
Like it's 7:27 when that first witness hears that thud outside the house and looks to see a car against the snowbank. And the car was facing westbound on the eastbound side of the road. So she was going west, but ended up on the eastbound side. And then Butch ends up calling the police at 7:43, which is 16 minutes after the first call. So between 7:27 is when she crashes. And then the police arrive at 7:46. So that's what, 20, that's what, my maths, 7:27 she crashes. Yeah, so 19 minutes between when she crashes and the police come and the car is abandoned. So, but also like if she crashes at 7:27 and then Butch sees her at what, 7:30 something, you think the other car would have been there by that time? Like would have turned around and been like, oh shit, she crashed. I'm going to go and find out what's going on or help her.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like why are they just sitting
weird.
there on the side of the road?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, that's weird to me. And also there was, I believe it was Butch that said that like he couldn't see, again, going into like the confusing of whether he could see her car from the window, but like he did see, I think it was that he said he couldn't see the car, but there could see other cars driving that had driven past. So he saw other cars driving by or something like that, which could have been this other person that picked her up after, because this would have been after she saw him and after he left to call. So there's a little bit of like confusion there, I think, with like the timeline of all that, but yeah.
For me, like I'm gonna go like kind of with what Katie was thinking, but also I was thinking like she got in the car with somebody else, and like maybe she hitchhiked or randomly someone passed by, and then like this is gonna probably be a bit far-fetched, but then she ended up like, you know how like in a sex ring, like sex trafficking. Someone picked her up, and then like that's where she is, and I don't know if she met with foul play. Like I feel like she didn't, but I mean, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I think the fact that she never used her phone or her credit card or her debit card ever again, like, that's weird. But I mean, if you're going missing, you're not going to use those things that can be tracked. So I guess the fact that she didn't use them doesn't mean that she didn't intentionally disappear. But
then my also thought is like, because she crashed the car, like she could have had the concussion, and then later on she could have like, but fell asleep and then like died of like froze to death, but then they would have found her body by now, I feel like. So that's not something like, I don't know.
But also it's just, yeah, like going to like the fact that she didn't use her stuff again, like if she was intentionally, but she did take it with her. So it's like weird that if you were just going to disappear, you wouldn't even bother to take your phone or your credit card or your debit card. You would just leave it in the car. You're going to lock the car and leave it. Why would you take it? The fact that you take it shows that you're going to use it or you plan to use it, but she never did. So it's like, to me, it wasn't that she was intending to disappear forever.
It anyways. So why would she couldn't use it anyways?
I guess, but her credit card she could have. But yeah, her debit.
But that's also like, I feel like she got picked up by somebody, and then like Katie said, that ended up in foul play, or she got picked up by someone and like God knows where she is. But because she didn't use her credit cards and stuff, makes me think that like she's not alive anymore. But who knows? I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's so many different things.
Also, her dad said that he had put money in her account after, just in case like she was out there and like was going to use it, but it was never touched again. So whether she just like thought she didn't have money in there, so why bother? or she just like was not around to even look. Yeah, obviously we don't know. There's like another theory that was out there that there was like locals in the area. Obviously, there's like 3 local boys that worked at the ski hill, and they would have had to pass by there to go to work that night because they worked like the night shift, and they didn't show up for work that night. And so they're thinking maybe they came across her before anybody else got there on the scene. They just happened to be driving, picked her up, and then they're the ones that kind of took her somewhere. Like, there's theories that they took her to a party, that she overdosed. There's theories that, like, yeah, they took her to a house, did something to her, or somebody else took her to a party, did something. So, I mean, there's, like, all these possibilities, but there's no proof of any of them. So, and when they, in this documentary, they talk to some of the, like, locals, and they're saying, like, it's, like, a safe, small town, everybody knows each other, but, yeah, they wouldn't rule out that somebody could have picked her up and done something. So, yeah, it's one of those things. It's just like so many possibilities, and there's no proof either way. So it's just a weird one.
Yeah, it's just crazy because she literally just vanished without a trace, because she goes from being there in the car talking to someone, and then within minutes is just gone and no trace of her. So
I was thinking, like,
very well been.
How do they even know it was like Maura in the car that crashed? Like, could have been someone else that someone could have done something to her, like, before she even got there, and then stole her car and then crashed. And then this person didn't know what she looked like that was talking to her, just assumed it was her. But then because of like the trace that the dog found of her, makes me think that, yeah, it actually was her. But for a while there, I thought, like, oh, she didn't even make it that far. But I feel like she probably did.
Yeah, because then I was going to say that, because then that would make sense why they want to get the fuck out of there before the police come. Like, if it's someone who stole the car and had crashed a stolen car, you're going to get out of there as soon as you can. Yeah, but I guess, yeah, the scent thing makes it obvious that she was there. Like, that was her. Because, yeah, you're right. Like, Butch has no idea who Maura Murray is. Like that. But I guess he wouldn't. Yeah, I guess.
But
I mean, he would know after, because, like, her picture would have been going around. He would have known, like, oh, that is the woman I talked to. Like, if he realized it wasn't, then he would have said something, wouldn't he have? Oh, like, oh, I actually didn't talk to Maura at all. It wasn't Maura in the car.
Like, my question is, like, why did he leave her? If she was, like, hurt, like, why did Butch leave
He said
her?
she wasn't hurt. He said she wasn't hurt. She didn't have any blood on her
But,
face.
like, why did he leave her? Like, if that was me, and there's, like, a girl who's, like, in the middle of nowhere, just crashed her car, and, like, I wouldn't leave her.
He couldn't do anything.
He only
couldn't
lived a
call
couple
the
minutes
police.
away.
Yeah, like, there's no cell service. Like, he could call the police. She didn't want to get in the car with him. He's not going to, like, drag her in or chase after her. Like, that's going to look even worse and not going to help at all. So, yeah, he just went home and called the police, which is, like, the only thing he could do. So,
yeah.
I mean, people are just, there's suspicions about him, too. He's not alive anymore, but, like, they're saying, like, because his story changed so many times, like, did he actually just leave her there and go call the police? But I'm thinking, like, why would he do something and then call the police? So I feel like he's not a part of this.
Yeah, people will, like, I mean, that's always the case though, right? People will jump on, like, anyone who does anything. Like, yeah, I feel like he would be much better off not even calling the police at all. But he obviously didn't know that this other neighbor had called the police already. But still, like, I don't think he had anything to do with that. I think it's crazy to even think he was. Like, and the fact that he left, because, like you said, he can't drag her into the car against her will. She says, no, I'm good. I'm fine. I already called AAA. Like, he knew that was a lie. But he took that, he could probably read the room and be like, okay, she's lying to me for a reason. She doesn't want to come with me. Like, what am I going to do? So I just had to leave.
Yeah. And like you had said, he said that she didn't seem drunk, but I also saw things that maybe this is one of the times his story changed, where he thought she was drunk because her speech was slurring and she had to, like, prop herself up against the car when she was standing there. Like, she couldn't just stand still. So I don't know. It's like 2 different stories from the same person. That could be one of the discrepancies people are talking about.
Oh, yeah. And he said that she seemed shaken, like visibly shaken. Obviously, she was just crashed her car, but no blood or wasn't hurt and didn't seem drunk or whatever. Like the reports I said that said she didn't seem. So yeah, maybe that was one of the discrepancies. I have no idea. It was super weird. Yeah, I don't know. And she just basically just goes missing, like, just off the face of the earth, just disappeared. And that was in 2004. So it's been as of February of this year, it would have been 21 years since she went missing. And obviously her body's never been found. And no like really credible leads have came up. There was in 2019. So there was a house near the crash site that was actually searched after cadaver dogs had reacted strongly to the property. And there was also ground penetrating radar that detected disturbed ground. But they did like a thorough search. There was no evidence or any remains found. So the homeowner actually allowed the search voluntarily. Like they didn't have a warrant to search the house, but the homeowner was like, sure, you can search the house. They never found any remains or any evidence that Maura was ever in that house or anything like that. So don't know why the cadaver dogs would have reacted strongly. But they did.
Well, also
Then
in that documentary that I watched, they did take like some samples from that house, and they did come back positive for like two human sets of blood, but they don't know who they belong to, and they were never able to prove that it was Maura. And also the police, like, that was not credible because it like the chain of custody, it's like, who found these? Who then you gave them to some random lab, they gave them back to you, and it's like, then you're giving them to us. So it's like, there's no way you could ever say that, yeah, that was real. So I don't know if this was just like a thing to make this documentary like, oh, it's another mystery, or if it's just like something that actually happened, but nobody can prove either way who it was or what happened. So just another part of it.
Yeah. This is
Also, there was like,
I
did you hear about the knife that was provided to Maura's father?
Oh, like briefly, but
yeah, like this is another thing, and it was one of those. It was like a brother. It was like a guy who had a brother, and he thought that his brother could be suspicious, and he could have something to do with this case. And he said he found a bloody knife in like the console or whatever of the front seat of his brother's or his car or something. And then he sent this bloody knife to Maura's father to be like, this could be her. And then Maura's father sent it to the police department, but they didn't want anything to do with it. He sent it again, and then they finally took it. But it's like, first of all, why send it to the father? Send it right to the police. Like, or like, don't even touch it so that the police come and like they're the only ones that are handling it. Because now, like, again, the chain of custody, like the chain of custody is all fucked up, right? This random guy sends it through the mail or sends it to the father. He sends it somewhere, sends it back. Like, yeah. So I mean, now there's no way to like prove either way. So just another weird piece, whether it was legit at all. But yeah.
That's crazy. It's so weird. And there was also someone who came forward and said that they saw someone who they thought could be Maura, like around the same time that they say that she would have abandoned her car, like on the road or something like that. And they didn't come forward right away because they had confused the dates themselves and thought, oh, it wasn't that day, but then realized later, oh, it actually was that day, and then called it in. But obviously by that time she would have been long gone. So we don't know even if that was actually her. I mean, what are the chances of someone who looks like her being on the road at the same time?
There was also another like sighting, like 10 years later, there was another sighting in like Quebec, I think. Someone thought that they saw Maura like in a record store or something. And when this record store worker was shown her picture, they're like, yeah, that was her. But the problem was, like, this would have been 10 years later. Like, Maura would have been like 31. The picture they showed of her, she was still like only 19 or 20, 21. And then they did like an age progression on this picture or on her. And then in this documentary, they showed that same record clerk, if she could, like, they had 4 pictures of different people and if they could point out who she saw. And they're like, none of these pictures look like the person I saw. So it was like, she just had probably mistaken it to be Maura. So that was like another lead that didn't go anywhere. People were thinking, oh, she's in Quebec, but probably wasn't her.
How would she have gotten over the border into Quebec if she was like a missing person?
Well, I mean, this could have been like the early days, like right after it happened. I don't know. There was like back then, I don't know. You didn't take much to get over the border, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. Now I'm like wondering if that was her, but probably likely that they just, I mean, there are some people that sometimes just look alike, or you think it's them. Like, you can never say for sure.
Yeah. And they were thinking, and like this person was asking if they knew if there was any like concerts going on, but like little concerts where there wouldn't be like a lot of people, and they said it looked like she was looking around to make sure there's no surveillance cameras. So it kind of made them think like this person didn't want to be like spotted, like to stay hidden. But I don't know, that's could be true, but that doesn't mean it was her. So just another weird thing.
Yeah, and I think it's like kind of far-fetched to think that this is a case of somebody who just wanted to go missing forever. Like, to me, it's like there's no evidence to say that there was things that are so drastically wrong. Like, yes, maybe she was under stress. Maybe she had been started to drink a little too much. Like, she had crashed her dad's car a couple of days before, and now she's evidence kind of that she was drinking here during this crash too. Like, maybe she was starting to go a little bit off the rails and maybe was just planning to get away just to clear her head or do whatever. But also because she did take her textbooks with her, which is one thing I didn't mention before. But like, you don't take your textbooks with you if you're going to leave and not come back. Like, there's evidence to suggest that she had planned to return because she had, like you said, turned in her homework. She brought her textbooks with her, like stuff that you would do if you're just going to plan to go away, but you're going to come back at some point. So to me, it's kind of weird that to think that this is a case of like, oh, she intentionally disappeared and wanted, and is just keeping herself hidden. So I don't really buy into that. So I do think it was like foul play of some sort. Like you had said earlier, Katie, like a mixture of the two things. Like maybe she wanted to go away for a week. Like she was just going to go by herself for a week, but then foul play had happened along the way.
Yeah. Also, there was like a book that was written by this guy named James Renner, who was also interviewed in this docuseries that I watched. But he's like, is one of those people that like latches onto a theory kind of and then just like runs with it, and then he makes all these like fake allegations in his book. Like he had wanted to talk to Maura's father to include parts in the book, but he, like Fred, Maura's father, like had a bad feeling about this guy from the beginning. Like he didn't want anything to do with it, and so Renner took that as super suspicious, and he wrote in the book that there was that her father was like sexually abusing her and things like that, which is there's like no evidence at all. And of course, Fred is like, that's ridiculous. Like there's no reason why he could ever say that. And yeah, so it was like his feeling was like right from the start. This guy like latches on to stuff. And so this James guy thinks that Maura ran away from the men in her life, meaning her father and her boyfriend. He says that, yeah, she's alive, and I think she was pregnant, and that's why she took off. She didn't want her boyfriend to have anything to do with the kid because he was like abusive and he was cheating on her, and her father was super like controlling and like all this stuff. Is like there's no like evidence of any of that. And I guess they had found she had like Googled or like searched up the effects of alcohol on like an unborn baby or something. So everyone's just like, oh, she was pregnant like right away. But her friend in medical school was like, they were actually in a maternity class and like they were supposed to be looking up, like supposed to be researching things like that. So that explains that like right away. Anyway, my point is that there's just like one little piece of info and like people just blow it up. And that's why there's like tons of theories out there that don't actually have any like truth at all to them. So people were suspicious of the family, like, oh, the father had something to hide. But no, I don't think that's true at all. Like, they're definitely just in this mystery with everybody else, just trying to figure out what happened. So just wanted to say that.
Yeah, and people like that, it like gives, because like, there's a lot of like internet sleuths out there, but those people like that give the whole internet sleuth like community, I guess, like a bad rap. Like most people are just people who are very interested, they're curious, they want to find the answer. But then you have those people who will just like try to be relevant and will make up all these horrible claims that have nothing to do with anything. It's like, yeah, well, I'm sure you could make up a bunch of theories that could try to convince people are true, but there's nothing. I think in this case, there really is no proof of any of these things. There's no proof that there was foul play. There's no real proof that she or left voluntarily. There's no real proof that there was an accident of some sort, right? Like, so any theory is viable, but also given that you have those kooks out there that will like just make up a random scenario. It's stupid.
Yeah, there's also conspiracy theories about the police being involved. Like one of the first responders did something and were trying to hide it. Like there's those theories out there about that too, which nothing. I think it's because like, oh, they're very secretive about what happened. They won't release all the info. It's like, well, yeah, because it's an open case. So I don't believe that the police are involved at all either. So just get that out there as well.
I also saw something. There was a Reddit forum that there was like thought she was in a cult or something. Like, it's so stupid. Like, there was
Oh
like
my
a
God,
cult
yeah.
involved. Like, she went missing because she was gonna like expose the cult or some stupid shit. Like, what basis of reality do you have any of that? It's just so stupid.
It is.
It's like
Yeah.
ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Like so there has actually been like somewhat recent developments that I'll just mention briefly here. Nothing that, of course, like there's no hard evidence or really anything. It just sort of leads to another possible theory. But so the attention had briefly shifted or has recently shifted to this man named Stefan Baldwin. And he was a man who's recently been sentenced to 15 years for completely unrelated charges. So he's been sentenced to 15 years for animal cruelty, theft, fraud, and impersonating a peace officer. So this man, he was once this respected animal welfare activist or advocate who was known, like he started his own nonprofit for animal welfare and he would write petitions to PETA and all that stuff. But his charges for animal cruelty, so the allegations were that he would like allegedly euthanize dogs under false pretenses while pocketing the funds that were meant for their care. So he would run this like place where people would bring their animals to for care, and then he would like the people would pay for the care, he would pocket the money and euthanize the dog. So that was like things related to why he went to prison for 15 years. These were the allegations. But there is the strange connection is that in the early 2000s, Stefan, who was then going by his full legal name, Stefan Finkelstein, actually attended West Point alongside Maura, and the two actually dated for a brief period of time. And when he was arrested in 2020, his fingerprints were entered into the national database. And then not long after that, it actually was revealed that the fingerprints matched prints that were found on CDs inside Maura's abandoned car. So Stefan has denied involvement, but this revelation has ignited new speculation. He or anyone else has never ever been charged or named as an official suspect in Maura's disappearance, and there's no like I said, there's no evidence to say that he was involved at any time. But 2 decades later, Maura's case still remains one of the most haunting unsolved disappearances in America. No body, no credible sightings, no conclusive leads, just this young woman who was there 1 minute and gone the next. So what do you guys think of the latest developments that I just talked about?
I think it doesn't look good for this guy that he already has a rap sheet and his fingerprints were found in the car, but also that doesn't lead to the conclusion that he was there even. I mean, those fingerprints could have been from before, like you were saying, when they were dating, and his fingerprints are still there. Doesn't make me lean towards him being involved at all, but yeah, just like another open-ended mystery.
Yeah, like that's him. Like I don't feel like that's. I mean, that's interesting. Like his criminal background and like how of a scruffy person he is. But I don't feel like he had anything to do with her disappearance. Because I feel like there's just not enough evidence to suggest that, in my opinion.
Also, because it's such a random place. Like, was he following her out there? Like, they obviously weren't traveling together, probably, because they weren't dating at that point. And were they still friends? Like, would he have been traveling with her? And if not, like, why would he be in another car following her all the way out there? Like, so it just seems like it's such a random place. If something had happened in her dorm room, then that would seem more like maybe it was him. But because it was so far out in the middle of nowhere, why would he be there? If they weren't together. So it's weird.
Yeah, unless I guess I don't even know what the theories are, but if people are like saying that maybe she was like having an affair with him or something and she was going to go meet him at this condo in Vermont or something, I don't know, or New Hampshire, or Vermont, whatever. Yeah, like who knows? Again, nothing that ever definitively ties him to that. Like, yeah, the fingerprints could have been there for ages, like when they were dating on the CD case and they just were found, but it's just another sort of avenue that people are kind of recently latching onto or kind of maybe interested in learning a little bit more about. So yeah, but like I said, she's still missing. She's still a missing person. And I don't know if you can see, I just put up, this is the age progression photo of her. So this was released in 2024. So if you're watching the video version of this, this was released in 2024 of what she would look like now if she were still alive. And this is the age progression photo that the FBI has released. So it's still an open case, still an open investigation, and we still don't know definitively what happened to her. So if you do have any information concerning Maura Murray, please contact your local FBI office if you're in the States, or the nearest American embassy or consulate. And we'll put a link in the show notes for those numbers and those contact information if you do have any possible information. So that pretty much does it for our Maura Murray overview. I guess, did you guys, either of you have any sort of final thoughts or thing before we wrap up?
I'm just hoping that maybe she is still alive, and like this whole theory of her just wanting to disappear and she's having a good life. That's what I want to believe, but it's been so long now that I feel like that's not reality, but I hope her parents can finally get some type of answers to their questions and maybe some type of justice and like closure, because like if she's still out there, she needs to either like contact her parents and to tell them she's okay, or like somebody needs to come forward to say like, yeah, she's fine. Because I feel like her parents are just never gonna have that closure until something dramatic happens.
That's like another thing. Like her father and her family said there's no way that she wouldn't have contacted us if she was out there for this long, especially since her mother was like diagnosed and was dying with cancer and died like 5 years after she disappeared. So they're like, there's no way she wouldn't have come back to be with her mom during that time, or been to the funeral, or come see the grave. Like there's no way she just would not have been there. And like interestingly, her mother like actually passed away on Maura's birthday, May 4th, which is just like an interesting coincidence. But yeah, so I honestly don't think she's alive out there. I think she did meet someone that harmed her and either just took her far enough away where they're not going to be able to find her remains very easily. So yeah, that's what I think. I think it's just like such bad luck that she happened to crash and then happened to like meet somebody on the road that was going to do something to her. So
yeah,
that's my theory.
Yeah. And I also think I also agree. I don't think, unfortunately, that she is alive. I think she was met with foul play very shortly after she disappeared. And it's just a matter of like finding out who was responsible and still bringing them to justice, even if, Maura is dead, still getting justice for the family so that they can know definitively, because that has to be the worst part, right? And her sister Julie was saying that like they have to at this point consider all opportunities, and it's like, and I'm sure the not knowing is the worst part of it. So even just having those answers. But I also think like at a certain point, like even if we do just eventually find out who did it, and if it was foul play and that person's brought to justice, I still think there's going to be a lot of questions that we'll just never know the answers to. Like we still will never know really why she left, what she was planning to do, unless this person that did something was like somebody that she had been talking to or whatever. But like if it was just a random person who had picked her up and then also did foul play, we're still never going to know exactly why she was leaving and this exact circumstances of why she had taken the money out and where she was going and all that sort of stuff. So I do think that like it's come with almost two questions, right? Like what happened to her after she crashed and why was she there in the first place? So one of those I think will still remain a mystery no matter what the result ends up being.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think if one of her friends or somebody knew that she had a plan to be out there, I feel like they would have come forward by now. Because if they weren't involved in her disappearance, I just feel like there's no reason for them to hold that info back. Like they'll be like, yeah, I know why she was out there. She was meeting somebody, or she just needed to clear her head and she had a destination. But like no one's ever said anything, so it doesn't make sense like why they wouldn't, unless they're involved, obviously. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There's just no reason why. So I really think it's a case of like she's the only one who really knew where she was going. She wanted to just go somewhere by herself. So yeah, I think unfortunately, like if she did die, those sort of answers also died as well. So sad overall, and I really hope, like, who knows, like we did recently get developments for like that other case, Asia Degree, that was like happened in the early 2000s. So there's a chance, right, that there's going to be leads and there will be someone who will be brought to justice for this. But yeah, I think like obviously as you get further on along down the line, like the fact that she's probably deceased is more and more probably likely, unfortunately. So yeah, like I said, we'll put links into the show notes for like who you can contact, like the local FBI office and the embassy and stuff, for if you do have information that might lead to the arrest or to finding out where Maura is, or the arrest of the person who may have done something to her. So we'll put links into the show notes for all of that. So that does it for this week's episode. We hope you enjoyed listening to our takes on this case, and we will be back next week with a brand new episode. So thank you so much for joining us. You can follow us on all the social medias. We're on Facebook, Crime Family Podcast. We're on Instagram, Crime Family Podcast. You can also find us on TikTok as well, Crime Family Pod, and email us at crimefamilypodcast@gmail.com for case suggestions or feedback, all that stuff. Give us a review and a rating on your on your podcast app, so Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen, or follow us on YouTube, Crime Family Podcast. Just type in Crime Family Podcast on YouTube and you'll find us. And you can watch the video versions on YouTube, and also on Spotify you can watch the video versions as well. So thank you so much. Again, we'll be back next week, and until then, take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.